Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here, welcome back to the channel for another update on Solana. So, last week we gave you a warning sign that Solana was sitting at a crucial Fibonacci level, and we talked about if we lose this level, we're likely going to start seeing a landslide. And as you can see, in the past week or so since our most recent update, we have started to fall to the downside. We're seeing a lot of signals that continuation may be coming. So, what's the next price target for Solana to keep your eyes on, and what happens if we lose that? Let's dive into this. Now, let's start off on the higher time frames. For those of you who might be new, we discussed this last week. There were some crucial warning signs. The retest of the weekly EMA ribbons, we got rejected from them, and we are moving down from this level. You can also see we recently pumped up to a huge area of liquidity in the markets, and we're turning down from this level. This level is also in correlation to these previous range lows, which, as you can see, this wick here, this wick here, this wick here, this was support, support, support. We've flipped it as resistance, and we've quite recently double topped at this area, and we're starting to head down. And we've actually seen this pattern that Solana is playing out right now a couple of months ago or so. And the last time this happened, we saw a huge drop. I'm going to talk about that in just 1 second. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the higher time frames. And in terms of the Elliott wave pattern we've been talking about on the channel, we let you know that in accordance to this WXY double free structure, that we should be topping out at wave B. A WXY double free structure constitutes of two regular ABC patterns, where you've got your typical A, B, C correction into an any free wave count. So we came down ABC completing wave W. We had a slanted ABC completing wave X. So we've had wave W, we've had wave X. This is so far very valid. We then saw a very unambiguous drop down to wave A, a huge pump back up to wave B. And as you can see, wave B topped out just underneath wave C, meaning this Elliott wave theory is still completely valid, and we should be heading down according to this WXY double free structure to the final wave, potentially the lows for Solana in this bear market. We only have one more wave count to complete this Elliott wave structure, and as you can see, once again, A, B, we should be coming down for one more low, down to wave C, completing wave Y in this WXY pattern. So where do I think this pattern is going to come down to? Well, as I've discussed in my recent videos, as I've been discussing for the past few months really, $4.50, if we look at this volume profile chart, there is huge amounts of volume traded at this region. Now, we previously bounced from this kind of area of no man's land. Vitalik Buterin tweeted out support for the Solana ecosystem. We had a huge rally back up to the upside. The bonk airdrop also definitely helped get Solana's active addresses moving, started getting a lot of movement in the network. But with that being said, you know, now this hype is starting to die out over on the weekly time frame. If we switch over to the Heikin-Ashis, you can see that the trend is finally switching back into red, meaning we're probably going to start seeing that move back down. And on the daily time frame, Heikin-Ashis have been moving down quite strongly since our most recent video. Daily time frame, these EMA ribbons are looking like they're going to cross bearish. 4-hour time frame, we've already started this bearish trend. So, as I've said before, $4.50, and also, you know, $5 is a big psychological level. As I've been saying, I do think we're coming down here. How quickly do I think we're going to come down to this level? How quickly do I think we're going to complete this WXY double free structure? Well, let's dive into the lower time frames and see what's going on. Well, as I just discussed, weekly time frame and daily time frame, we've started to switch bearish over on the Heikin-Ashis, indicating a new bearish trend is soon to come into the markets. Now, most of the time, if I clean up this chart for just 1 second, you can see over on the Heikin-Ashis, we use this to smoothen out the trend. And bear in mind, we discount doji candles in the opposite. We discount doji candles a lot of the time in Heikin-Ashis because, you know, for example, we see a lot of fake outs over on the Heikin-Ashis. So, for example, you can see over on the green, Heikin-Ashis up, and they topped out right here. But we saw two fake outs where we turned red, but these were doji candles signaling indecision, so we ignore these, and you can see huge downtrend here. We saw a fake out here, two green candles. These were both doji candles, so we discount these. You can see a fake out on the dojis here, a fake out on the dojis here. This was kind of like a dragonfly doji or a gravestone doji, but we did ignore this one as well. And you can see, you know, most of the time these switches over into red over on the Heikin-Ashi candles indicate a new major meltdown is coming for these markets. So let's come out of the Heikin-Ashis. We've already discussed this. In terms of other things you need to keep your eyes on, as we discussed, we've rejected from these range lows. We retested the 200-day moving average for Solana for the first time. Well, obviously we retested this over here in January, but if we zoom out, you can see we haven't really come close to these since April when Solana was at $144, and you can see after that retest of the 200 EMA we had a very sizable move to the downside. And this isn't even the pattern that I wanted to talk about after a major meltdown. It is just something, the cherry on top of the cake. Now, we've also been talking about on the daily time frame. In our last video, maybe it was a week ago. Yeah, huge warning to Solana holders. We told you that basically a week ago we were sitting at this lower time frame 618 Fibonacci at $24, I believe, when we were recording this video, and we told you if we start falling beneath $23.15, it's going to be a very, very quick move back down because we don't have much support built out in these markets. And as you can see, this lower time frame fib has now been lost. So let's get rid of this and talk about the next Fibonacci that you need to keep your eyes on, because from high to low we've melted through all of these fibs. So now the only thing we can do is look at the lows down here. You can draw from here, it's not going to affect the prices too much. I think the trend really started from here, so I'm going to draw from low to high. And as you can see, where is the next major level to keep your eyes on? It is this 618 Fibonacci right down here for Solana. Now this is a pretty big move. You can see this is all the way down at $15.27 from where we are right now. This is a 27% move, and coming over to the Heikin-Ashis again, you can see, you know, it's probably pretty likely that we're going to come down here in the next month, maybe the next few weeks or so, and this is why it gets extremely dangerous. So we've got a pretty nasty pattern playing out right now where we've got from here, you can see we've got an M pattern with a high. You've back tested an uptrending line of support, and then you came up and made a higher high in terms of this M pattern. Now, I quite recently made a Bitcoin video, and we're seeing the exact same thing over on Bitcoin, but we made this pattern before that major capitulation in November. You can see we made an M pattern, we back tested the trend line, we bounced up for the top of the M, we made a higher high, and once we lost this trend line, we absolutely melted. You can see if we come over to Bitcoin on the daily time frame, excuse the trend lines that are already here, you can see we're making this same pattern. You can see over here for Bitcoin, we made the same pattern back over here before that major meltdown to the downside. This is just even more overextended, and you can see how Bitcoin actually pushed up from this M pattern. But if we come back over to Solana is making lower highs, showing a lot of weakness against other coins. So when we come over to Sol BTC, you can see this weakness is definitely showing. We've back tested the Sol BTC 786 Fibonacci pair, and we're moving down just like we talked about in our previous video. I think Solana is probably going to drop another 60% against Bitcoin. Sol against Ethereum, as you can see, I don't really need too many words. You can just look at this trend line and take your own opinion from this. But Solana is heavily underperforming Ethereum. Solana against Matic, there's been a little bit of FUD in the Matic ecosystem recently. Supposedly, Matic are not paying back some of the loans for NFT projects that have come and joined their ecosystem. I won't comment on that because nothing's been 100% confirmed. But with this being said, Solana's been slightly outperforming Matic, but still coming up to this macro downtrending line of resistance. So Solana against Matic, Solana against Ethereum, Solana against Bitcoin is all looking pretty dire right now. So we're showing a lot of weakness in the Solana market right now, and this trend line right here that we're sitting on at this moment in time, I came to make this update in a very timely manner because we're sitting on this right now, $20.90. If we start falling beneath this level, as of the time of recording, we're at $21. We're literally 10 cents away from backtesting this crucial line of support. So how do I think we're going to react to this? Well, we might not break down instantly if we do come over to the 4-hour time frame. Actually, let me show you something else first. So it's somewhat likely that we do break beneath this trend line, potentially back test about $19.50, and then come back up and retest this trend line before heading down to $15.20. And the reason for that is, if we come over to the weekly time frame, you can see stochastic RSI recently hit 100. We didn't actually have that bearish cross yet, so we've got a lot of room to move down to the downside for Solana stochastic RSI. The MFI, the money flow index, is currently at 74. The squeeze momentum indicator has reset bearish momentum and is currently sitting in bullish territory. The last time we reset momentum was right here before that major meltdown to the downside. Coming over to the daily time frame, slightly different picture. You can see a bounce on the stochastic is somewhat likely to happen at some point soon. And if we do come over to the 4-hour time frame, you can see once again coming back to that bearish signal in the lower time frames, like what happens in the next few days or so. It's very likely that we continue breaking down. Then if we come over to the daily, that's when we likely see the stochastic bottom and we have a bounce. Coming over to the weekly, that bounce confirming this trend line as resistance is what's likely going to give us enough momentum to come down to these much lower price targets. And here's where things get sticky. You can say, hey, there's a 618 Fibonacci here. As long as we come down and backtest it, we're all peachy, right? But here's where I think things get even more ugly. Look at this pattern right now. This is a textbook BART pattern, and we've seen these BART patterns time after time again. We recently saw an inverse BART pattern right here. Huge run down, spiky head top, and then you can see huge reversal of this BART pattern. We see these BART patterns in the markets all the time. Now we're seeing the same thing, but to the upside. This is a regular BART pattern, huge run up, spiky top consolidation. Yes, you can say, hey, if we break down to $15, then we might have a little bit of support, but it's very likely that we just bounce and absolutely nuke down, fulfilling this BART price target all the way down at $7.80, which is why quite recently I've been letting you know that new lows for Solana are absolutely programmed. I'm gonna keep this little drawing here and we'll see how this works out. Of course, you know, what happens in the lower time frames is not too important. My macro predictions are really what I want you to focus on. At this moment in time, I'm actually not shorting Solana. I am in a KDA trade. The reason why I do a lot of Solana analysis and let you know when I think it's breaking down is because at these levels down here, these are the levels that I want to become a buyer for this ecosystem. Nothing's set in stone yet. I don't have buy orders in play right now, but when Solana does come down to these levels, once everyone starts panicking, saying, hey, you know, I was bullish on Solana at $200, I was bullish at $100, I was bullish at $50, but now it's down here at $5, I think Solana's going to zero. Once we start seeing that, I think we're going to see a huge reversal in these markets, and that is when I want to position myself to re-enter this ecosystem. I'm already in the Solana NFT ecosystem quite strongly, and I have been a previous investor in Solana. However, in a bear market, I normally like to stay clear of altcoins. But with that being said, lower time frames and higher time frames, we're seeing a lot of signals that we are about to have a major meltdown. The daily time frame is letting us know that, hey, you know, whether we break down to this level, $19, and then have a bounce, or whether we break down to this $15 and then have a daily bounce, potentially, you know, up to $19 or so before melting down to these new lows. These scenarios are probable, but with that being said, higher time frames, it's very unlikely that we see a reversal of trend on the weekly time frame. It's probably likely, in my opinion, that we see something like this again, where we just continue in the higher time frames to bleed down into new lows. So with that being said, my friends, that's really all I've got for you today. Like I said at the video, this crucial trend line right here, sitting at $20.90. This is going to decide what the next move for Solana is. If we bounce from this level, we could very likely head back up to this 618 at $25 or so. I personally don't think it's too likely. We've also got resistance coming in on this 200-day moving average. So really, $23 is going to be resistance. If we lose $20.90, we're likely to backtest that $21 region and then get that major meltdown to the downside. This right here is currently what I'm predicting for Solana. In this blue trend line, I think we're going to backtest this trend line after breaking it and head back down. And also, the lower time frames for Bitcoin, you really want to keep your eyes on this bear flag, because Bitcoin, or bearish pennant, Bitcoin looks like it wants to break down at this moment in time. So if Bitcoin starts breaking down from this, we may see this meltdown for Solana happen sooner rather than later. And if Bitcoin is breaking down, look at the Sol BTC pair. Solana is underperforming Bitcoin right now. If Bitcoin starts breaking down, Solana is going to melt to the downside, my friends. So for today, that's all I've got. You know my price targets in the immediate short term. Keep your eyes on $20.90. If we break beneath this level, we are heading down to $15.28. In the higher time frames, remember, I start to become a buyer. I start to get interested in getting back into the Solana market around about $5 to $4.50. But for today, my friends, that is all I've got. As always, if you do enjoy my content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment, share the videos with your friends. And if you want more of my post charts, memes, and economic data, be sure to head over to my Twitter at 618_cowboy, join the Discord community. If you head over to my YouTube, click on the About section, you can see my Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and my official merch store. These are all linked down below for you. But for today, that's all I've got. As always, my friends, it's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I'm out. Peace.